This poem, The Conqueror Worm, expresses multiple poetic elements and themes to express Edgar Allan Poe's overall purpose of the poem, which is to describe the demise of humanity.
The first element that will be looked at is foreshadowing. An example of this is that motley drama, "Oh, be sure it shall not be forgot." Poe is claiming that it shall not be forgot, what is being foreshadowed is later revealed to be the appearance and rampage of the conqueror worm. Next is the phrase, "with its phantom chased forevermore by a crowd that sees it not." The phantom being chased is foreshadowing the arrival of the worm. The worm, humanity's evils, is chased by the crowd that is unaware of it. This means that humanity does not know that they are bringing about their destruction, and their actions are what drove the worm to attack the play.
The second poetic element we will be analyzing is Gothic poetry. The Gothic elements provide a dark, gloomy, and unsettling mood to the poem. There is dark and picturesque scenery that proves that is a Gothic poetic element. There are lines such as "bloody red thing" and "vermin fangs" throughout the poem. Also, when a worm proceeds to attack the angels in the second part of the poem, the use of repetition and exclamatory sentences is Gothic since it helps provide a harsh and unsettling mood. There are lines such as "it reaves of mortal pangs," and "out, out, are the lights out all," where there's repetition in the words "reaves" and "out." Also, both these sentences are exclamatory, which keeps the reader on edge and makes it unsettling. Also, there's the line, "while the angels are pallid and wan," and this is also Gothic, since angels are generally depicted as strong and radiant, but here, when Poe says they are pallid and wan, they are feeble, weak, and exhausted. Poe also uses the words, "and much of madness and more of sin and horror the soul of the plot" in his poem. This is an example of Gothic poetry, since Poe is claiming here that the poem is about dark and oppressive things like madness, sin, and horror, which is a key theme in Gothic poetry. He also capitalizes madness, sin, and horror in this line. This may be because he is intentionally putting emphasis on these Gothic words. Another example of Gothic poetry is the line, "an angel throng, bewinged, bedight, in veils and drowned in tears." Angels that are described as bedight or adorned are shown to be wearing veils, which are usually reserved to be used for solemn events, and to also be drowning in tears, which is Gothic, since, as said before, angels are supposed to be representations of happiness and good, but here they are miserable and depressed.
One example of irony in the poem The Conqueror Worm is when the mimes are said to mutter and mumble low. This is ironic because a mime is an actor that portrays emotions and actions without spoken words. Mimes muttering and mumbling contradicts their purpose. This shows the human race's dysfunction, like mimes that speak, and why they are led to their demise. Another example of irony is when it says that the play is the tragedy man, and its hero is the conqueror worm. This is also ironic because tragedies do not typically have a hero that prevails in the end, like the conqueror worm does, and it is also ironic because the worm seems to be the entity throughout the poem, and a hero is usually a protagonist in a story. The tragedy refers to the demise of humanity, and the worm is the cause or hero of it.
Metaphor is used throughout the play to add to the theme of the demise of humanity. An example is the line, "the curtain, a funeral pall." This is a metaphor for the curtain is acting like a funeral pall, which is a cloth that is placed over a coffin of a deceased person. So the curtain falling on the dead mimes on stage is representing the cloth placed over the dead. Next, the phrase, "comes down with a rush of a storm." This metaphor describes the falling of the curtain, falling quickly and violently onto the dead bodies below, trying to cover up that man fell so easily, and acting as a cover to hide the weakness of mankind.
One symbol in the poem is that the play, which the entire poem is about, is called man. The name man symbolizes that the play is about the end of the human race if they continue to act the same way. Another symbol that further suggests that humans have to change their ways is by using mimes as the actors in the play, because mimes mimic actions. The conqueror worm is a symbolism of humanity's evil, which is because it is shown as one massive unstoppable being that doesn't let anything get in its way. This shows that humankind evils and destruction, since it is so large, and widespread that is too powerful to defeat.
One of the themes throughout the poem is that death conquers all. This theme is evident throughout the poem with the worm's rampage. At the beginning, the mimes representing humanity can do nothing to stop it and fall to the worm quickly, becoming its food. The seraphs in the audience, despite being supernatural and can be considered immortal, perished during the attack. The few that were left were crying and pale, mourning the loss of the other angels and humanity.
Throughout the poem, there is also the theme of weakness of humanity. As seen in the poem, all the mimes are representing humanity in this play called Man. They are being controlled by vast formless things that shift scenery to and fro, lapping from out their condor wings, invisible below. And also, these same mimes who represent humanity succumb to madness and horror later in the poem. So these mimes are allowing themselves to be controlled by these vast formless things, and they're also too weak to fight back against madness and horror. They're also too weak to fight back against the conqueror, since the conqueror, when he shows up, easily eats them all.
With no regard for human life!
And the conqueror is actually a representation of humanity's evils. So it shows that humanity is too weak to fight back against their own evils.
In conclusion, Poe's use of poetic elements and theme enhanced the purpose of the poem, The Fall of Humanity.
Another thing to think about is Poe's description of a sort of apocalypse. This poem features the unexpected destruction of a play, which is later revealed to be a symbolic of the human race. This is because the apocalypse equals the demise of humanity. This apocalyptic theme could show that Poe's writing was maybe ahead of his time.
I saw it! It's big!